Hello there, this is the Shadow Ranger. Um, Not a whole lot planned to talk about in the video this week. I'm just gonna talk about the WrestleMania card so far, and answer a couple of Q&A questions I got. One from Roland Dynasty and a couple from Mr. GS1427. Alright, so far the announced card for WrestleMania is pretty much still the same. There only one new match has been added. So we got John Cena versus The Rock, Undertaker versus Triple H Hell in a Cell, Sheamus versus Daniel Bryan for the World Heavyweight Championship, CM Punk versus Chris Jericho for the WWE Championship, and announced on SmackDown this week, The Big Show versus Cody Rhodes for the Intercontinental Championship. It's not rare you get an Intercontinental title match at WrestleMania, so I like that. I really was hoping they would have gone with that Cody Rhodes Goldust match, but Cody versus Big Show, that'll be fine. I expect Cody to win, but I'll do my official prediction video when we get closer to the show. Let's see here. I like the Punk Jericho promo on Raw this week. It was pretty good. I expect this will be a pretty good match. Sheamus versus Daniel Bryan, not much gets said about it. They're not getting mentioned very much. Taker Triple H Hell in a Cell. I like that they're having a Hell in a Cell match that has a reason behind it. It's not just a Hell in a Cell match because it's the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. Cena versus The Rock. So far, after last week's promo and what happened this week, I'm still backing Cena for this match. I'm still surprised that I am, but the more this goes on, the more I want John Cena to win. But we'll see what happens next. Rumored match supposedly gonna happen is some sort of Teddy Long versus John Laurinaitis match. What I've heard people suggesting is that they're gonna do some match where each guy has like a team representing them, and like whoever team wins will be the GM of both shows. That's what I've been hearing. I don't know if that's really gonna happen though. What I'm hearing is there's gonna be an 8-man tag. That's what I've heard a lot of people saying, but that's not official yet. That's just what I've been hearing people say. There's going to be an 8-man tag, John Laurinaitis' team versus Teddy Long's team, and the winner will be GM of both shows. So let's look at the roster here. See who might be on each team. Now, at the last pay-per-view, they had Mark Henry, Del Rio, Christian, all endorsing Johnny Ace. You'd expect David Otunga to be on this team. The only person you've really seen with Teddy has been Santino, but Santino's still his assistant. So that's something too. So let's say Johnny Ace's team: Mark Henry, Del Rio, David Otunga, and Christian. As for Teddy Long, he could have Santino, Brodus Clay, that could be part of his team. Well, we need baby faces. Ezekiel Jackson, maybe. Justin Gabriel, Kofi, R-Truth. Rey Mysterio could make it back in time. That would be a good addition if he gets back in time. Ted Jr. and Zack Ryder. But I was hoping Zack Ryder would have a bigger moment at WrestleMania this year after all he's done this year. I was hoping he'd get to do something bigger. I want to see Zack Ryder versus Kane at WrestleMania. And I think The Miz, he cut that promo talking about why he doesn't have an opponent. I actually like to see The Miz just come out and say that you can't have WrestleMania without The Miz, and I'm demanding an opponent, so I'm going to put out an open challenge to any former world champion to face me at WrestleMania, and you have the challenge accepted by Randy Orton. Right, Zack Ryder could come back and challenge Kane after everything Kane's done to him, and that could be a match you got right there. I think that would be a fun match to have. For the Divas, there's rumors that they might not even have a Divas match this year, or just have it on the pre-show, like the pre-show Dart match. Really, there's really only 2 matches from the Divas that anybody wants to see. Let's be honest. They want to see Beth Phoenix versus Karma, or Beth Phoenix versus Trish Stratus. And Karma's still recovering from giving birth. That Royal Rumble appearance was just a one-time thing. They took a lot of precaution. That's why when you watch the Rumble video, when she gets eliminated, you see like 3 guys run over and start checking on her immediately. They just look, and she was only in there for maybe 3 minutes. She threw out Michael Cole and I think Hunico, and she gave Dolph Ziggler an implant buster, and that was it. So she still needs more time just to recovery time from giving birth. So I doubt she's going to be ready for Mania. So Trish has said in interviews that she would like to face Beth Phoenix. That would be fun. So that's the only match I could see happening that anybody would care about. And some people said Natalya, but they haven't had enough time to split them up yet. Plus, Natalya farting really just doesn't say WrestleMania to me. So I think Natalya's out. Even if she wasn't farting, there's not enough time between now and WrestleMania to split her with Beth and build a decent feud. But Beth Phoenix could come out on Raw, challenge Trish Stratus, just say, there is no competition left for me, so I'm looking for a challenger. I want to prove that I'm the greatest champion in Divas history, so I want to challenge the 7-time women's champion Trish Stratus. Trish comes up, accepts the challenge. There you go. Since Beth versus Karma, I don't think it's going to be able to happen just because Karma's not ready to come back yet. The only other person I'd be interested in seeing is Beth Phoenix and Trish Stratus. I can't think of another Divas match that I'm honestly interested in seeing at WrestleMania. I think that's about all I will say about WrestleMania. But after maybe next week, we'll see if there's any new matches signed, and I'll come back and talk a little more about it. Let me just go ahead and do these few Q&A questions. I got about 6 questions here. Roland Dynasty asked me my thoughts on Ring Ka King. I actually did a Ring Ka King video. They did a Gauntlet Battle Royal on Ring Ka King last week, and the one like TNA does is like Royal Rumble style, but when it's down to 2 guys, it's pinfall submission. They did one. It was for the #1 contender for the world title, and Brutus Magnus won it. I actually did a commentary video on it, like the Royal Rumble style commentary videos, but I didn't. But when I uploaded it, it didn't upload properly, and I didn't realize that it didn't upload properly until I had already deleted the video. See, what happened was, it was longer than 15 minutes, and I didn't realize that my over 15 minutes function had been cut off because I'd had too many videos that had copyrighted material. So my account won't get suspended for uploading videos with copyrighted material, but if I have too many, I lose my ability to go over 15 minutes for my videos. And when I uploaded that video, I hadn't realized it yet. And then I deleted the original video, the recording, and then I came back to see I was wondering how come nobody had commented on the video, because everybody liked the Royal Rumble commentaries, and when I came back and checked, I saw that it was had been rejected because it was too long. So I had to go into my account and delete some videos that had copyrighted material in them so I could get my over 15 minutes back, which I have now. So if you happen to wanted to check out one of my older videos, it's not there, that's probably why. I think what I'm going to start doing is, when I do these weekly videos, if I have anything that has copyright in it, I'll probably only leave it up for a week and then delete it, because if you have too many, if I have too many videos with copyright material in them, I lose my ability to go over 15 minutes. So I went through and deleted some, and I got my time limit's gone now, so I can go over 15 minutes again. But I had uploaded that Ring Ka King video and lost it. But anyway, getting back to the question, my thoughts on Ring Ka King, I've really enjoyed it so far. I don't speak Hindu, but enough of it's in English that I understand what's happening. I think that's what helped me. I've never been able to get into wrestling from other countries because it's not in English. I don't watch any Mexican wrestling. I don't watch any Japanese stuff. But it has always been the reason. But enough of Ring Ka King is in English that I can understand what's going on. I know a lot of the people from TNA and some of the ones from WWE. I understand everybody's gimmicks, and I pretty much understand all the storylines. So it hasn't really been an issue. So I'm able to understand what's going on Ring Ka King and enjoy the show. And I really like it. It's a short show. You get 2 hours over the week. So right now there's only two titles, a world title and tag team titles. So I guess they'll leave it there. If they bring in more women, they might do a women's title. Hopefully they will bring in some Indian women to wrestle. If they can find some who can train, you don't see that very often. I think people will get into that. There might be some in America somewhere, a Hindu female wrestler. Or, it's wrestling. You just gotta find somebody who looks close enough. You can get like a light-skinned Mexican and pass her off. That's just a tradition in pro wrestling. I like the set. The company that owns it put a lot of money into the set. I think it looks really good. The crowd seems to be very excited and into it. The wrestlers seem to be having fun. It's good to see some of the ex-WWE guys that I haven't seen because they got released. It's nice being able to see, Chris Masters again. It's nice being able to see Chavo on TV and Trevor Murdoch and Luke Gallows. So I like being able to see them. Not a whole lot else I want to say, but I've been watching Ring Ka King since it started. I actually watched an episode just this morning. Actually, it's still morning here. It is 10:35 a.m. Sunday here as I'm recording this video. But I watched today's episode, and I'll watch one more tomorrow. The next one should come out. They should be taping more soon, because I believe when they went to tape, they taped 13 episodes. And this morning I just watched episode 11. So tomorrow should be episode 12, and then next week will be 13, and that'll be it. So if the show is going to keep going after the 13 episodes, which I would imagine it was, since I've read that it's got a lot of good viewership and millions of people watching it. That's what I've heard. But, that was just internet stuff, like from, I think Dave Meltzer was putting that out. So, I don't know how true it really is, but if it's excuse me, I had to yawn now. But if it's as successful as it's been reported, I can't imagine that they wouldn't. If it's true that the debut got, I think that I read that it got like 14 million viewers, and that it gets a lot of viewers every week, and I read like it gets replayed all through the week, and it always does very well. So if it's done as well as the reports have said it is, I can't imagine why they wouldn't renew it. So I'm expecting more Ring Ka King. I liked it. I liked the show. I'm gonna keep watching it until they stop putting it on. So that'll be it. So thanks Roland Dynasty for sending me that question. Let's see here. Alright, I got some questions from Mr. GS1427. These are the other Tap Out Wrestling News questions. He sent me some questions in my last video, and he said they were from Tap Out Wrestling News, and I mentioned that the question was pretty good, so send me some more. And he sent me a couple more of them, so I got 3 questions from Tap Out Wrestling News that he sent, and 2 questions from him. So let's go from here. His first question is, what was the best pay-per-view card ever? It could have been TNA or WWE or any other wrestling promotion pay-per-view. I can't really answer that question, but I can tell you what the best is a matter of opinion. Nobody can really answer what's the best. I mean, if you're going to say the best, I guess the only way you could judge what the best pay-per-view card is how many buys it got and how many tickets it sold. So figure out what pay-per-view made the most money. That's the best one. My personal favorite pay-per-view of all time is the 1999 Royal Rumble. It was the one Rumble started with Vince McMahon won the Rumble, had the Rock, Mankind, I Quit match, That particular pay-per-view. That's personally my favorite pay-per-view. Like my number one. Well, actually, number 1 and 2. It's like tied. I can't really say which one I like more. I would actually sit down and rewatch both of these entire pay-per-view to say which one I like more. But the other is Bound for Glory 2007. Had Kurt Angle versus Sting main event. It was they crowned the first Knockouts champion. That pay-per-view, Bound for Glory 2007. So those are my all-time like favorite pay-per-views: Royal Rumble 1999 and Bound for Glory 2007. His second question, he asks, NWO, Nation of Domination, Evolution, 4 Horsemen. What was the best faction and why? Okay. Let me think on that. That's a very good question. I don't think about these questions before I answer them in the video, so I actually haven't given these questions any thought whatsoever. So, let's see. Those were all very successful stables. I mean, 4 Horsemen is quite possibly the most successful and biggest stable of all time. NWO is probably got to be number 2. I mean, NWO was a stable that pretty much revolutionized the business. It kicked off the Monday. It was really the big catalyst that kicked off the Monday Night Wars. Was the formation of the NWO. The formation of the NWO is one of the most memorable moments in wrestling history. When Hogan drops that leg on Savage and he cuts the original NWO promo. Evolution, I would take out of this list. It's clearly not the best one. It was a good faction, but it was really just new generation 4 Horsemen. And you got 2 really big stars, Randy Orton and Batista, out of that faction. But other than that, I wouldn't give. Evolution doesn't belong on this list. Nation of Domination, I would probably have to take off next because I think Nation of Domination was better than Evolution. So Evolution would be last, and next eliminated would have to be Nation of Domination, even though it's probably my favorite faction ever. I loved original Nation of Domination. Farouk, Savio, and Crush had PG-13 doing the rap. Clarence Mason had the whole entourage. I always loved that. I thought that entourage thing is what made them stand out, so that was always a good faction that I enjoyed. Nation of Domination, you got several really good stars out of that show. Excuse me, taking a drink of orange juice. Not show, faction. I mean, it really launched the careers of Ron Simmons, D'Lo Brown, Mark Henry, Godfather, obviously The Rock. So let's total number of wrestlers that were in the Nation of Domination throughout his history. You had Farouk, Crush, Savio, D'Lo, Godfather, The Rock, Mark Henry, and then when it became the Nation, you had Owen Hart. So Farouk went on to become one of the biggest. He's going into the Hall of Fame. Mark Henry had a very long and successful career. He's going into the Hall of Fame eventually. The Rock is going into the Hall of Fame, obviously. D'Lo Brown probably is never going to go in the Hall of Fame, but he had a very good, very long career, very good career. And the Nation, being part of the Nation, is really what catapulted him into becoming a star. So he may not ever be Hall of Famer, but he had a very good, successful career out of that. Same goes for the Godfather, not Hall of Fame material, but he had a very good, very long career, and the Nation of Domination is what kicked that off. Because him as Papa Shango never really hit it big. Him being, Kama, the Supreme Fighting Machine, didn't kick it big. It was when he started becoming big when he became Kama Mustafa in the Nation of Domination, then Kama in the Nation, and then eventually evolved that into the Godfather character. But the Nation of Domination was his catalyst. So he had a very good career. His biggest stuff was started with Nation of Domination. Same can be said for Mark Henry, but I already said Mark Henry. So you got Farouk out of there. Big star, Hall of Famer. The Rock, mega star, Hall of Famer. Mark Henry, big star, Hall of Famer. D'Lo Brown, big star. Godfather, big star. Owen Hart was fantastic even before then, so he was already great. Crush and Savio did okay, but it made them relevant in a time where they were irrelevant. If nothing else, it kept them around in the WWE, making a good money for longer than they would have been, because both of those guys weren't really doing much of anything before they joined the Nation. You know, once Demolition was over, there wasn't a whole lot that Crush was doing. But all around, Nation Domination was a great group. NWO and Four Horsemen, I don't know if I could decide between them, but all you have to know about the NWO and the Four Horsemen is this: they are the quintessential factions. I've said this before in the video, and I'm not the only person who said this, because I heard someone else say this, and I totally agree. Every faction that's worth a damn is compared to two factions, NWO or Four Horsemen. Every faction gets compared to those two. Every faction you've seen over the past in WWE or TNA over the past 5 or 6, 7 years, every faction gets compared to that. Fortune was compared to Horsemen. Immortal was compared to the NWO, even though it was nothing like the NWO. Fortune was the corporation. I still don't see how people looked at Immortal and saw NWO in it. Just because Hogan's there does not make it an NWO clone. It was the fucking corporation. But the corporation was compared to the NWO. Nexus was compared to NWO and had a little bit of Nation of Domination in it too. Nexus had a little nation in them too. Evolution, of course, was compared to the Horsemen. So, and any faction you see gets compared to that. You can start any type of faction right now. Those are the two. If your faction is worth a damn, it'll either get compared to Four Horsemen or NWO. In fact, the only faction I can think of over the past 6 years that didn't get compared to either one of those, like a faction that mattered, was LAX, which was more like Latino Nation of Domination, really. But I can't think of any other faction. Every other faction you can think of got compared to those two. Maybe the Beautiful People when it was 3 of them. That's probably it. LAX, Beautiful People. Those are the only two factions I'll say over the past 6 years I've seen in WWE or TNA that doesn't get that isn't compared to, or people or accused of being a ripoff of Four Horsemen or NWO. So Horsemen and NWO, the top two. Which one's bigger? It's hard to say. That's a debate we'll have to have another day, and I need way more of the people in it. But Evolution, you only got 2 big stars out of it. The other 2 were already stars. Nation Domination launched about 5 guys into very successful careers. NWO and Four Horsemen, legendary. I mean, people have been trying to recreate that magic forever. How many times has TNA tried to recreate the magic of the NWO or Four Horsemen? It never works. WWE tried it. It never works. Although Evolution was pretty damn close, though. Alright. Moving on. Let me check my time real quick. Alright, 23 minutes. It's might a little longer because I got 3 more questions to answer. What faction would you make in WWE? What faction would you make in TNA? Who would be the members in them? What would the name be? Who would they feud with? Alright. Let's bring up the rosters. Let's start with WWE. The easiest thing to do to make a faction is take mid-carders that aren't doing anything, put them together, give them a reason. So we'll try 2 here. International faction. TNA had this when they did the World Elite a few years ago. That's a faction that got ended too soon. A lot of people say it was because of Hogan and Bischoff came in and kind of ended it, but I always liked the idea of an international faction. And I think it works better as a heel. And you always want a really cool, like, patriotic American to fight the anti-American heel faction. So we're going to do that with WWE. Good collection of heels, and we will give it a name. And we're going to call this faction the United Nations. There you go. So let's see who we're going to put in our United Nations faction. We'll start at the bottom of the list. Yoshitatsu, turn him heel, make him heel. William Regal is a possibility. Let's see here. We got Great Khali. Nah, not Khali. He's the big level baby face now. I better type this one out while I go to it. Okay. Give me just a second. Okay, first, Yoshitatsu. Represents Japan, not doing anything, no problem having him in there. William Regal as a UK guy. I was thinking Wade Barrett, but Wade Barrett has already done his faction stuff with Nexus, so I don't want to put him in another faction. Might take William Regal out of here, though, but we'll get back to that in a minute. Next heel we add actually, you know what? Instead of William Regal, Mason Ryan from Wales, big British dude. He's not doing much of nothing anyway. Turn him heel, he can be part of it. Jinder Mahal, already a heel, India representation. Now this group needs a leader. I was thinking Del Rio as the leader. He's the big star that can be the leader of the group. So I'll put him as the like the lead guy. He'd be the member of that other group that's going for like the world title. Got Del Rio. That's 4 guys: Yoshitatsu, Mason Ryan, Jinder Mahal, Del Rio. Mason Ryan wouldn't wrestle as much as he would be more of Jinder Mahal, not Jinder Mahal. More the enforcer type guy of the group. Like, remember when British Invasion started, you had Rob Terry as the enforcer guy. He didn't really wrestle that much. He just would get in, knock somebody around, stand there and flex. Because Mason Ryan's not that great in the ring, so that would be more of his role. He's taking on more of like a bodyguard role for Del Rio. Excuse me there. For Del Rio and stuff. So you got Mason Ryan's more the enforcer. Yoshitatsu, Jinder Mahal. I'm thinking maybe one more guy for this group. What do we got here? Nah. Because you'll have Ricardo Rodriguez doing the ring announcing. So you don't really need another guy. But there could be somebody in FCW you could bring up and put with him. Like a Samoan dude. Let me check the FCW roster and see if I can find me like a Samoan or Samoan looking guy that could add. Because Samoans just rule. Meet and greet with Dusty Rhodes. Cool. Alright. Here we go. Superstars. Alright, I'm looking at the FCW page real quick. What do we got here? Antonio Cesaro. He used to faction, used to be the leader of the BDK. Brutus Shep, that's quite it. Here's a dude, Leaky. He looks Samoan, or we can lie and say he is. Remember, you don't have to be that nationality. We just have to be able to lie and say you are. Leaky, Pensacola, Florida. He is the son of WWE Hall of Famer Sika of the Wild Samoans and brother of former superstar Rosie. Hell yeah, that works. Leakee, Wild Samoan from FCW, Leakee. So go look him up on FCW. So that's gonna be my United Nations faction. Until I think of something better. They're gonna be heel faction, your heel anti-American type faction, and you just need an all-American guy. And I was thinking what you would do with it is they would sort of fight with Zack Ryder after Zack Ryder wins the U.S. title back, right? And Del Rio, what you would do with the storyline, I did a similar version of this storyline a long time ago, but you would have Zack Ryder win the U.S. title back from Jack Swagger. Or if you want to, you could turn Jack Swagger face and try to do this. But he's been heel so long, I don't know if he can be face. Especially since he's the all-American Jack Swagger. You can maybe use this to turn him face later. So you can either do this with Zack Ryder. Zack Ryder wins the U.S. title back from Jack Swagger. Or you turn Jack Swagger face and have him do this feud. And you have the leader of the group be Del Rio. You do this with Del Rio for a while he's out of the WWE title picture. And Del Rio, he has his faction. He runs down America. They all run down America all the time. Del Rio wins the belt from either Swagger or Zack Ryder, whichever one of them you want to have do the storyline with. I think Ryder's better at being a babyface, so you might want to do it to him. And Ryder's trying to get his belt back. And what you would do as a storyline, you can build up pay-per-views of each guy, of Ryder fighting each guy on pay-per-view, trying to get his way to get a rematch against Del Rio. And Del Rio has told Zack Ryder that if he can beat all four of his guys, I'll give you another shot at my title. What you do is you have him get screwed. Zack Ryder tries to get his title back, but he gets screwed, and it's like a DQ, a double DQ. And then he gets one more shot at it, but in his second shot trying to get the title back, Del Rio doesn't have to give it to him, but he agrees to a last chance match, and they screw Zack Ryder again, and Del Rio wins. So Del Rio's runs down Zack Ryder. He says he'll give Zack Ryder one last shot to win the U.S. title back from him if he'll meet a challenge. You have to beat opponents of my choosing. If you beat all of the opponents, I'll give you a shot at my title. You have to beat all the opponents I've selected for you. Let's say it'll be 4 of them. If you beat all 4, you get a shot at me in the U.S. title. But if you lose, you get 2 strikes. If you lose twice, 2 of the matches, you have to leave the WWE forever. So you can always tease one guy can beat him. So you can have a pay-per-view. It was Zack Ryder going against one of the guys. So one pay-per-view he could go against Leakee. Next pay-per-view he could take on Jinder Mahal. Next week he can take on Mason Ryan. Then Yoshitatsu. Then finally not Jinder Mahal, Del Rio beat him, get the U.S. title back. You could build that up to maybe like a big pay-per-view. SummerSlam, Survivor Series, or wait a while and have it lead into next year's WrestleMania. However you want to do it. That's a feud you can do. And he can pick up some help on the way. Some people to back him up. Any babyface will do. He can get babyfaces on his side to help him out when he's getting beat down by the group. Usos could back him up. Yeah. R-Truth, Percy Watson, Ted DiBiase Jr. You got plenty of guys who can back him up when he needs it. Or you can even turn Jack Swagger face and have Swagger team him up. The All-American. That's a possibility you can do. Let's see. Mid-Card Mafia. You're not going to really call them that, but that's the name those guys are known as. You can always have them together as like a Nexus-style faction. You got Tyson Kidd, Tyler Rex. All those talented young guys who really aren't doing anything. The guys who have talent but they're boring as hell, make them a faction, they're not boring anymore. Tyson Kidd, Tyler Rich, Trent Beretta. You got Ted Jr. Ted Jr. can go in that group. JTG, always a possibility. You got all those guys. Hunico, Camacho, Kurt Hawkins could be in that group. Kurt Hawkins, let me put Kurt Hawkins in there. The guys that should be feuding over the Intercontinental title, because since Cody Rhodes didn't really do much in it, but he's finally got a title match he's going to defend the belt at WrestleMania, so I guess that'll work too. There's a lot of Latino wrestlers. You know, you had the whole Latino Nation thing in TNA a while back. They could do something like that with WWE. Guys and girls. You could have a girl version, which would be Eve, Bella 1 and Bella 2. Rosa, though she wouldn't be doing a whole lot as far as wrestling goes. You got Rosa. You got that makes a nice little 3-girl group they can do some stuff with. And then you can put some of the guys with them. You got Primo, Epico, Hunico, Camacho. Is every Latino dude in this company got to end in O? Primo, Epico, Hunico, Camacho, Uno, and Doso, and Treso, and that's another group you can do if you want to have Del Rio lead a group of a Latino group. Latino, aka Hispanic. You got some Mexicans, some Puerto Ricans, and stuff like that. Yeah, that's a possibility of another group you could do. What else? What are the options for a group? Don't hurt me. What? Yeah, what me? What? Huh. What am I looking at here? Add Alex Riley to that mid-card Mafia group. He ain't doing shit right now. Randy Riley. Jimmy. Oh, Black Cena, Darren Young. That's a mid-card Mafia guy right there. This group's getting kind of big. You don't use all of these guys. I mean, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 dudes. You don't use all 8 of them. You ain't trying to do Nexus again. But any group of 4 of those guys would work. What else am I seeing in here? Got the Usos. If you got 2 more Samoan guys, 1 or 2 more Samoan guys, you can make a Samoan group there. You got them. You can have that Leaky guy I just mentioned a few minutes ago. And find you somebody that looks Samoan. What the hell is this nigga here? Seth Rollins. This dude got half his hair is blonde and half his hair is black. What kind of dumbass look is that? Anyway, let me get back to what I was saying. Yeah, so there's a couple of faction ideas for WWE. As for a faction in TNA, this is going to be a lot tougher with a smaller roster. What do we got here? Well, let's see. What's my possibilities with OVW? We got anything to work with here in OVW since they got guys there they can use? Alright, factions. Here we go. I remember I told you about teaming Robbie E with Zema Ion. After this whole Jesse Sorensen thing, there's more to work with Zema Ion going solo. So maybe leave him out. But how about Robbie E, Rob Terry, and Jesse Goddard, Mr. Pectacular. If you don't know, Pectacular and Rob Terry won their tag team titles in OVW recently. In the tapings. The episode hasn't aired yet. I don't think the episode has aired. But they won the tag team titles in OVW. The Southern Tag Team titles, I believe is what it's called. Actually, I think the episode is downloaded. Yeah. Well, I think the episode is up there, but so I think it has aired. Yeah, go ahead. So that's a option you have. And I don't watch a whole lot of OVW TV. I watch it sometimes, but I don't know a whole lot about it to keep stuff going. What else we got here? If you turn Garrett Bischoff heel like I wish they would, him and Gunner could be a tag team, but that's not quite a faction though. But how about Rob Terry, Scott Steiner, and Mr. Pectacular? Call them Muscles Inc. They're all big, jacked up muscle dudes. How about that as a group? It's kind of hard to come up with factions for TNA right now. Because what happens with such a smaller roster and only 2 hours of TV time, if you make a faction in TNA, is going to be overarching and taking over the whole show. So I actually would recommend not having any factions in TNA right now. Because when you look at the roster, there's not a whole lot of guys to work with. Because I'm looking at the roster right now, I can't think of any idea for a faction that hasn't already been done. So I'm actually gonna have to pass. I got nothing when it comes to a faction for TNA. Not much to work with as roster wise. Everybody in TNA is already doing something, and there's not enough people doing nothing that they could make a faction together. There's not enough people whose looks and gimmicks fit enough together that they could make a believable faction. Except that one, Rob Terry, Robbie E, and Mr. Pectacular when he's ready to come up to the main roster. It would take a while, but if you dye Madison Rain's hair back blonde, you could turn her and Angelina face and put the beautiful people back together. Or if you want to turn some other people face, you could turn Velvet Sky back heel and have the beautiful people back together. If you want to turn Velvet Sky heel again, which turning Velvet Sky heel again would be really easy. You just do an intelligent version of what they did with Eve Torres on Raw, talking about how she used that writer. You do that intelligently. And what I mean by doing it intelligently is you don't have the person say it right in front of a camera when the camera's on their face. You do it hidden camera style. You have some other babyface reveal a hidden camera of Velvet Sky, and Velvet Sky is like on the phone talking shit about how she looks cute and bats her eyes, and all these idiot fans buy her little good girl act. They're so stupid that they're the same fans who used to watch me and Angelina make fun of everyone and make fun of how everyone wasn't as beautiful as us, and we shaved Roxy's head and laughed hysterically about it. But I just show them a little cleavage and bat my eyes, and they buy my whole idiotic sob story about how I used to be bullied and stuff. These fans are such idiots, and they'll believe anything I tell them. As long as I long as I let that idiot Taz say his stupid line, and I bend over and let the pigeons loose. What an idiotic line that is. That idiot Taz came up with such a stupid line, but these fans are so dumb that they keep buying pigeons t-shirts and pigeon army shirts. These idiots. Hey, I'll keep letting the pigeons loose as long as those idiots keep putting the money in my pocket, and somebody reveals that on a hidden camera. And then everybody turns against Velvet. Do it intelligent. Don't just have Velvet stopping at somebody and ignore the fact that the camera isn't there. You do it hidden camera style. You can turn her heel and get the beautiful people back together. You can have that faction again. But that's about all I got. Sorry about that tangent there. Alright, let's check my time. I'm at 45 minutes. What else? Alright, 2 more questions from Mr. GS1427. He says, I used to watch WCW and their pay-per-views since I started watching wrestling until WCW ended. Still watch wrestling, but I still get that feeling that something's missing in wrestling. Then I think about the things I miss from WCW. So my question is to you, what do you miss most about WCW? For me, it would be the NWO and the Goldberg streak. I always like the 3 cages stacked on top of each other. So what do I miss most about WCW? Oh, there's a lot of things I miss about WCW. I miss the Cruiserweight division. I've said this before and people never understand. I don't know a good way to explain this about how the WCW Cruiserweights were different from the X division. I've always tried to explain it, but I never have been able to really articulate that properly. But I do miss the WCW Cruiserweights and the Luchadors. I miss Harlem Heat. I miss the NWO. I miss Disco Inferno and Alex Wright. They were 2 goofy guys, but I always loved those dudes a lot. I miss seeing the Steiner brothers. I miss seeing Chono and Muta. I miss seeing Buff Bagwell and Scott Norton team together. There was a lot of tag teams in WCW I liked. I miss Raven's Flock in WCW. I miss the Rap is Crap song. There's only one thing that I hate, 'cause it's a bunch of crap. I hate rap. Hell, I even missed 3 Count. I miss a lot of stuff about WCW. I guess what I most missed about WCW is the Monday Night War. I got a small little taste of that nostalgia in 2010. When I left Korea in 2010 and went back to the U.S., I was in the U.S. for about 5 months, and I came back to Korea. And during those 5 months I was back in the U.S., I was staying with my mom. And she still lives in the house we lived in when I was in middle school. When I was in junior high, I'm 26, so I was in middle school during the height of the Attitude Era and the Monday Night Wars. And I remember being back during that time. And I was staying at my mom's house in 2010 for those few months before I came back to Korea. And that was during those few months was when TNA decided to move their show to Mondays and start doing live shows every other week. And I just remember sitting in her living room, and she was at work. I'm sitting in her living room. I got the TV on. I got Raw on one channel. Impact was on the other channel. I'm sitting there. I'm flipping back and forth. I'm loving it. It just had such a big nostalgia feeling. I miss that feeling. I miss that nostalgia feeling of 2 wrestling companies going head to head, trying to be the best, watching them both on Monday nights, flipping back and forth between the channels so I don't miss anything good from either show. I miss that war. And I've said before in a video a long time ago, I said one of the things that wrestling fans have to accept is that there's never going to be another wrestling war that involves the WWE. There isn't going to be another Monday Night War unless WWE stops putting shows on Mondays and 2 other companies do. No one's ever going to compete with WWE again. You need $1 billion just to try. More than $1 billion. You need a couple billion just to attempt to try. WWE has grown so big. They have such a head start over everyone else now. It'll never happen. Hopefully, a company will come along. They can get big enough that they can compete with TNA, and you might get a nice Thursday Night War. I hope Ring of Honor is able to do it. Even though I'm not a Ring of Honor fan, I would love if Ring of Honor group got big enough that they could have 2 hours every week, and if they were on Thursday going head to head. If they were competing, that probably would make me watch Ring of Honor again, just to see what they do to compete with TNA. But out of all the things I loved about WCW, overall, the thing I missed most about WCW was the competition that it provided to WWE and the Monday Night War that we got. I loved WCW when I was a kid. I was a huge fan of WCW from when I was a little bitty kid. I've talked about it before. When I was a little kid, I used to watch Sting and not Lex Luger, sorry, Sting and Rick Rude fight all the time. I used to watch Johnny B. Bad fight all the time. When I was older, it was the Monday Night Wars. It was NWO. I loved Harlem Heat. I loved the Steiner Brothers. I loved the Cruiserweights. I liked watching, Diamond Dallas Page, one of quite possibly my favorite wrestler ever. I've said he's my all-time favorite. He might be my all-time favorite ever. He's up there with like him and Undertaker. Steiner Brothers Harlem Heat matches, the rivalry they used to have. Steiner Brothers Outsider matches. All the other great tag teams. Disco Inferno, Alex Wright, I used to love watching them. Chris Jericho when he was Lionheart and he had Ralphus with him. Rey Mysterio Jr. when he was Rey Mysterio Jr. The Rey Mysterio Jr. the rivalry, it wasn't a feud, the friendly rivalry that he had with Billy Kidman and the cruiserweight matches those guys used to have that used to be so fantastic. Chris Jericho and Dean Malenko when Dean Malenko's dressed as Cyclope and he's standing there in the ring with Jericho after winning the Battle Royal. He pulls the mask off. Cyclope pulls the mask off. You see this Dean Malenko and the crowd go nuts. And I fucking love WCW, and it's been 10 years since it died, and I still miss having WCW on my TV to watch. So I could go on and on and on about all the stuff that I loved about WCW, but overall, I miss the war. And I'll leave it there. I'm at 51 minutes. Alright, last question. What would you have liked to see? What would you have liked to seen in WCW that never happened? He said, I'd like to have seen Drew McDonald on WWF with DDP. I don't know who Drew McDonald is, sorry. I would like to have seen... I thought they did this in TNA with the X Division a couple of years ago. They had Team 3D do it, but it was an idea apparently it was Scott Hall's idea to do this. They said that he used to pitch it all the time in WCW, and they never did it. There was a cruiserweight bully. You'd have like some big guy who bullies the cruiserweights and takes the cruiserweight title, and one of the cruiserweights would eventually beat him and get the belt back. That storyline, I thought that would have been fun if they would have ever done that and had Scott Steiner to be the cruiserweight bully. I always wanted to see Rey Mysterio win the world title. I trying to think of stuff I wanted to see that didn't actually happen. It could have happened, but they just didn't do it right. I wanted to see someone, when Goldberg's streak ended, I wanted it to be legitimately ended, like somebody straight up beat Goldberg clean in the middle of the ring to end that streak. I always wanted to see a WWF versus WCW pay-per-view. But as for stuff that, I'm trying to think of things that were possible that just never happened. Rey Mysterio winning the world title probably would be the top of that list. Everything else happened. I was a big fan of Booker T. He won the title. I can't think of anything else that didn't happen. Everything else I can think of that actually happened, except Rey Mysterio winning the world title. That's the one thing that never happened. That and maybe the Cruiserweight Bully storyline. I would like to see how that would have worked out, but as for things that never happened, Rey Mysterio's world champion. That's the number one thing that never happened in WCW that I always wanted to see. Rey Mysterio winning the world title. Yeah, so that is it. That was the last question. So this video actually ended up going 53 minutes. I didn't expect to go that long, but it was a good video. Thank you guys for the question you sent me, and that's where I will leave it. Yeah, alright, that's where I'm going to end up this video, and I'll be back next week. So, this is the Shadow Ranger. Thank you for listening. Have a nice day.